Yes. What message is shared? Hello. Is the screen visible to you?
Yes, ma'am. मॅम तुमचा आवाज नाही येत.
अजिबात नाही आता. हॅलो.
आवाज नाही येत आहे
काहीच नाही
म्हटलं.
आता का? हॅलो. हॅलो. एम आय ऑडिबल?
येस मॅम.
आधी नव्हतं येत.
नाही मॅम.
So screen is visible, no? So class
येस मॅम.
definition and class function definition. Class definition.
अभी
मैम
फिर से
आवाज
नहीं
नहीं
आ
आ
रहा.
रहा है.
Hello. Hello. Am I audible? Yes. Hello.
येस मॅम.
Clearly?
नो मॅम.
Hello. Am I audible? यस, अभी आवाज आ रही है? हेलो, हेलो, हेलो।
Yes, ma'am.
ईयरफोन आहे का वो? अच्छा। हेलो, हेलो, हेलो। हेलो,
हाँ, अभी आ रही।
अभी आ रही है ना? क्लियर आ रही है?
हाँ, हाँ, हाँ।
विजिबल है? स्क्रीन विजिबल है? स्क्रीन इज विजिबल?
यस मैम।
Class declaration and class function definition. So what we include inside class is we write that is the objects, their member declaration and their member function declaration. That will come inside the class declaration. What do you mean by class declaration? Means we actually define the functions. Okay, means what is the member functions?
आवाज नाही येत आहे.
परत ब्रेक झाला का? Am I audible now? Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
यस मैम।
Yes, ma'am.
So class function definition. So this is where actually define the class functions. That is also known as the member functions of the class. So that you mean by what you mean by the class definition. And declaration means the attributes where you define inside the class. You'll understand these both terms when you look at the examples. We have already studied the examples of the class. See this syntax, how you write the class, that is class, then class name, and then you declare the functions and variables which are private to that class, and functions and variables which are public to that class. Okay, so what do you mean by writing private and public access specifier above these declarations is that the private members can be accessed from within the class only. Okay, means only this private area can be accessed by this public variables and functions, and not other than this. Means even the main function cannot access them directly. Okay. On the other hand, whatever the public members are, public means they are public to all, so they are open to all and can be accessed by the outsider of this class. तो इस class के बाहर जो भी function आएंगे like main function, it can access these public attributes, whatever the variables and functions declared in the public under the public scope, they can be accessed outside the class. That's why we have to write this access specifier inside the class declarations. This is a general syntax that we are already familiar to you, but what you have to focus right now is on private and public. Now see, the use of word private is optional. Even if you don't write this word, if I don't write this word here and directly write int member and float cost, then they are going to be treated as the private members and they will have their provide their access only to the public data. Okay. While as the public here, the get data function and put data, they can be accessed from the main function also. This diagram explains the concepts of data hiding in classes. This we have already discussed in the last lecture. That see here the private area and the public area. This is your class. Okay, class will be having the private variables and functions, public variables and functions. Now, what is the thing is that the private data and functions can be accessed. See, this is and accessible to this thing. So this private area can be accessed by the public part of this class. But this private part cannot be accessed by the outside. Okay, then this public part can be accessed by the outside and hence can be accessed directly by the outsider functions. If the outsider function wants to access the private data, they have to go through this. Means अगर यहाँ की किसी वेरिएबल का आपको रिजल्ट कैलकुलेट करना है तो आपको उसे इस फंक्शंस के थ्रू यूज करके ही फिर आप उसको बाहर के किसी फंक्शन में इंप्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं. दैट इज द मीनिंग. We will look at the examples. Just remember this concept. This is very important concept that private area of a class can be accessed by only the public other external function. This is a cross, and this is not x. This is cross, not can't be accessed. And the public area of the function, that is data and functions which are declared as public inside a class, can be accessed by the outsiders directly. Creating objects. How do we create the object? Once we write the class, we can create the objects of that class, which will be treated as a variables of this type. Okay, so if I am having a class item, so I can create the object of such class by simply writing class name and the name of the object that I want to give. You can give any name here. Now this will be treated as a member variable of the type item. Now in C++, you can create the multiple objects here only. See how to create the multiple objects? Just complete the class, and before writing the semicolon, you have to give the object's name. X, Y, Z, X, comma, Y, comma, Z. The number of objects you want to create, just separated by comma, write down after the now X, Y, Z, this 3 become the object of this class item. Now this structure will be looking similar to you with the structure. What is known as structure? Structure में हमने ऐसे variables create किए थे, right? If you remember. So this is similar to the structure syntax. Just remember is that you can create the objects like this also, and you can create the object that the method we have used earlier inside main also. But which method we are going to prefer is creating inside main. Because हम objects वहीं पे use करते हैं after creating the inside the main, after creating the object we use it there only, so better to keep it nearby where we as actually use them. See, this is a simple program. One more program I have taken, but this time I have passed the parameters. तो इसलिए ये same program है class use करने का और objects create करने का, ठीक है, लेकिन इसमें सिर्फ क्या किया है parameterized member functions use किए हैं. Let's look at this function. Let's look at this program. इसमें सिर्फ आपको क्या करना है, दो ऑब्जेक्ट्स क्रिएट करने हैं और हर प्रोडक्ट के लिए नंबर, प्रोडक्ट नंबर और उसका कॉस्ट एंटर करवा के लेना है यूजर से. ठीक है, we will not be entering. See here, this time I am not going to take input from the user, but I am going to assign it with the help of parameters. Okay. So one thing you will learn here differently that
Yes, ma'am.
here we are going to use the parameterized member function. Now see, hash include string namespace std, the namespace class item. Now here you can see I have not written any access specifier above these members, so by default they are private. By default, two variables, no, that is number of type int, cost of type float. Then inside the public area, I have declared two functions. One is get data and second is put data. इसमें से जो get data है, ये है मेरा parameterized, ठीक है? और इसमें से जो put data है, this is a null. Okay, null arguments, no arguments are passed. Now, what I am going to do with this, I am going to show you that function can be defined inside the class also and outside the class also. What I have done here is one function I have defined inside the class, that is put data, and the other function, that is get data, I have defined using the scope resolution operator outside of the class. But actually void data completes, then your class completes. Okay. Look at this. Put data में क्या होगा? The number and cost will be displayed. So I have written number is equals to no variable name and cost is equals to. Now let's define the get data outside of the class. You can define any of these two outside the class or both inside the class, but let me show you the use of both ways. Void item, how you define the function outside of the class using scope resolution operator. So void item, this is the class name to which it belongs to, get data, and then pass the parameters as it is. Then inside this, I am going to write a definition of this function. So what is the definition is, just assign the first argument. First argument will go into the number variable, and whatever the second argument passed will go into the first. This is the meaning or function of this get data. Now let's write the main function. Here I am going to create the objects of the class. Item x. Now see out, पहले एक लाइन प्रिंट होनी चाहिए ऑब्जेक्ट x, ताकि पता चले कि ऑब्जेक्ट x का नंबर और ऑब्जेक्ट x का कॉस्ट है. इसलिए एक लाइन प्रिंट करेंगे ऑब्जेक्ट x and to go to the next line. And what I'm doing, x dot get data, but this time I will have to pass what arguments. पहली int type की और दूसरी float type की. X dot get data in bracket pass the arguments int a float b. So what will happen here? The control will, this function will be called and the control will pass to the body of this function, and hence automatically x के number के लिए x, ये जो ऑब्जेक्ट बना x ऑब्जेक्ट जैसे ही बना उसको कितने एट्रीब्यूट्स असाइन होंगे, इस क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट होने की वजह से इसको दो एट्रीब्यूट्स असाइन होंगे, दैट इज n number and the cost. Okay, and what values are going to be assigned inside number and cost is that will be decided by these arguments. So automatically number में जाएगी value 100 because we are calling this function. So first argument goes into no and second argument goes into cost. And then cost will be 299. ये हो जाएगी cost की value. किसके लिए? X के लिए. And x dot put data will directly pass the control over here. And hence number is equals to no of the object x will be displayed, that is number is equals to 100, and cost is equals to cost variables value, that is 299.95 will be displayed for this object. Similarly, we can create the another object item y. Object y display होके आना चाहिए. ठीक, इसके बाद हमने क्या किया, y dot get data कॉल किया. This time I have passed different arguments. Again the control will pass over here, but this time object y is calling it. फिर से y object बनेगा. y object के लिए दो वेरिएबल्स बनेंगे क्योंकि ये इस क्लास से बना है. कौन से रहेंगे, no and cost. With the help of get data function, what we are doing, first argument will go into no and second argument, that is 175.50, will go into cost. And again you will see this output after calling the y dot put data. Y dot put data जैसे कॉल होगा, यहाँ number is equals to इसके no की वैल्यू, cost is equals to इसके cost की वैल्यू. This is how the parameterized member functions, and member functions can be defined inside the class also and outside the class. Just you have to remember the thing, when we define the functions outside of the class, you have to use scope resolution operator along with the class name. Now see, accessing class members. Access the class members using the object name and dot operator and then function. Okay, the syntax you are familiar with. Object name dot function name, and then you have to pass actual. So here the statement x dot get data in the above program assigns 100 to the first variable, first argument, and 75 value to the cost. Similarly, x dot put data will just display the values of those data. Now see, what you have to look at here is how to access the private and public members. So can we access the private members directly? As we have learned the data hiding diagram just above that I've mentioned, explained recently. So from this example, you will get the clear idea. जो मैं बोल रही हूँ ना कि private और public कहाँ access हो सकता है, कहाँ नहीं access हो सकता है, तो यहाँ ये example देखो. Look at this. Class XYZ, inside this two variables x and y, I have made them private, and this variable that is int z, I have made it public. So what is the thing is, मैं इसको color कर देती हूँ. इसको कलर कर देते हैं, आपको वो ध्यान में आ जाएगी चीज। ग्रीन कलर, है प्राइवेट पार्ट और ये है पब्लिक। With the help of object name means you have created the object, okay, from that class P, object बनाया आपने P, and you have written the statement P dot x is equals to 0 करो, मतलब आप क्या कर रहे हैं, वैल्यू चेंज कर रहे हैं x with the help of this object inside the main. So this is illegal. You can't access the value or change the value of x inside the outsider functions because it is private. ये मीनिंग है प्राइवेट होने का, ठीक है। यू कांट एक्सेस देम इन द आउटसाइडर्स फंक्शंस डायरेक्टली। व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ दिस सेकंड स्टेटमेंट, p dot z is equals to 10? Is this valid? Yes, it is completely valid. उसे 10 कर सकता है, मतलब उसको चेंज कर सकता है, उसको टाइप, उसको प्रिंट कर सकता है, ठीक है, मॉडिफाई कर सकता है। बट एक्स के साथ ऐसे कोई ऑपरेशंस ये ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं कर सकता, क्योंकि ये मेन एक आउटसाइडर फंक्शन है जिसमें ये ऑब्जेक्ट बना है, और एक्स एक प्राइवेट वेरिएबल है जो सिर्फ इसी में जो फंक्शंस होंगे, अगर पब्लिक में कोई फंक्शन है यहाँ पे, तो वही इसे एक्सेस कर सकते हैं, और कोई एक्स को एक्सेस नहीं कर सकता है, नॉट।
हेलो मैम, आवाज नहीं येत आहे?
Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
कब से मतलब
Yes,
कनेक्शन
ma'am.
कब से ये हुआ? कनेक्शन कब से ये हुआ? कहाँ तक थे आप लोग? ये हुआ था?
आवाज नहीं आ रही मैम।
आवाज नहीं आ रही मैम।
हेलो हेलो क्या ये? हेलो
मैम आपका आवाज क्लियर नहीं आ रहा है।
हेलो 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 यस हेलो आवाज आ रही है? हेलो 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 हेलो
आवाज नहीं आता है मैम।
आवाज आता ही नहीं है? हेलो 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 हेलो
हाँ
हेलो
अभी आ रही।
अभी आ रही है आवाज? एक्चुअली आई एम
यस मैम।
यूजिंग कॉलेज सिस्टम। आप लोगों को कब से विजिबल नहीं था? हम लेक्चर रीशेड्यूल करेंगे आज, 4 से 5 रख देंगे। बताओ कब से विजिबल नहीं था स्क्रीन? एक्सेसिंग क्लास मेंबर, डिफाइनिंग मेंबर फंक्शंस। यस, कहाँ तक थे? कॉलेज का नेट एक्चुअली ऑटोमेटिकली डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया था एंड इट डिडंट इवन कनेक्ट टू। हेलो, कहाँ तक थे आप लोग? विच टॉपिक? एम ऑडिबल? देयर आंसर? Okay, connect the message in your group that this lecture is going to be rescheduled by uh, 4 4 to 5, 4 से 4। आपका प्रैक्टिकल क्या? आप कुछ आज कुछ प्रैक्टिकल है? Is there any practical today? Yes, Dhanashri.
मैम आवाज नहीं आ रही ना।
मैम आवाज बहुत ब्रेक हो रही है आपकी।
ओके, अभी डोंट। हेलो हेलो हेलो।
यस मैम।
हाँ अभी आ रही।
हाँ, तो प्रैक्टिकल है
मैम
क्या आप
ईवीएस
लोगों
का
का आज
प्रैक्टिकल
कोई?
है।
यस मैम।
यस मैम।
4 से 4:40 में है।
यस मैम।
यस मैम।
यस मैम।
तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे फिर? 3:20 से 4 तक लेक्चर लगते फिर आप लोगों का। हम्म, या फिर उसके बाद रखो? यस, आई विल टेक योर लेक्चर आफ्टर 4 से 4:40 है ना? तो 5 बजे से ज्वाइन हो जाओ आप लोग। 5 बजे लेक्चर रखते हैं आप लोगों का, 5 to 5:40। यस,
यस मैम।
there will be just drop this message in your personal group, not your class group। आप लोगों के पर्सनल ग्रुप में मैसेज डालो कि 5 to 5:40 देयर विल बी अ लेक्चर ऑफ सेक्शन ए। ठीक है? सो मैं किसको बोलूँ अभी, ईशा एंड धनश्री, ठीक है।
यस मैम।
और कल की टेस्ट जो लोगों ने नहीं की, सो आई वांट द रीजंस फ्रॉम ऑल ऑफ देम। तो ये मैं अभी शाम के लेक्चर में डिस्कस करूंगी कि क्यों नहीं दिया आप लोगों ने टेस्ट। अच्छी है का के लिए ना मारेंगे। हाँ हेलो, ओके, we will reschedule the lecture.
मैम आवाज नहीं आ रही ना।
Dropping the message. It's okay. Okay, you leave the meet. ऐसा नहीं है। Meet आगा देखा तू। खाली से, amount से।